Consciousness in action, and you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on tunein.com, hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
Welcome to Life Mastery with Todd Allen, the talk radio show that dives into the science of higher consciousness. Join Todd and his guests weekly at 10 a.m. Pacific Time and learn how to live a peaceful life with intentional mastery. Enjoy a survey of inspiring topics such as abundance, intention, health, manifestation, love, and transformation. It's all right here. Leading authors, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs with stories and messages to support your well-being, let alone your most evocative dreams.
And he's not lying. It's all right here on Life Mastery Radio. Welcome to the show. We've got a very special guest with us today. But before we get started, let's see. What did I forget, Jackie? Today's a groovy day. I got up and I said it was a groovy day, and it's going to be awesome all day long. There you go.
Right, you forgot to say that Tuesday is your favorite day.
Oh, yeah. Tuesday is my most favorite day mostly because it's Life Mastery Radio Day, and I get to hang out with my really good friend, Jackie Beasley. She's really cool. Hi, Jackie. There's my co-host. And we always have a new friend to join us and talk about some really cool things. So I'm glad you could join us. Take a minute and think about a friend that you could tell about the show, because this show is so cool and we have such great topics that you're going to want to tell a friend. We don't have telephones anymore. We have telephones. That's the way it works. Before we get started, you know, I always like to get myself centered and situated and just kind of in the group. Not kind of. I like to get myself in the group. I got to quit that kind of word. Get it out of there. Setting an intention. We're going to have a groovy show, but I like to get in that groove first. Let's just take a minute. And I want you to consciously think about that which gives you power and something that you tap into. And that could be God, Allah, the source, the dude, as Pangrout would say. Just consciously think about that for a minute. And let's take in a deep breath all the way down past that throat chakra and that heart chakra down. We learned about chakras in the last show. Down into your diaphragm. Big, deep breath. And let that breath out with a big ah. And just let your essence flow up through your heart center, out of your speaker box, and out into the universe. Now this time, let's take in a deep breath. Think about those dreams, visions, and goals. And just let those dreams, visions, and goals flow with that big ah. And let them flow right up out into the universe. And as they're flowing out into the universe, consciously think about allowing the universe to make those come true for you. Because they will, if you think about them. And we're going to talk about that today. As always, my co-host is with me today. She already waved at you. Hi, Jackie. How are you today, my friend?
Good. Doing groovy.
Feeling groovy. Da, 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 da. That's my theme song. I'm going to have to.
It is.
Yeah.
You know what my theme song is?
What?
She's a super freak, super freak. She's super freaky.
Where did that come from?
That, did you? That's my theme song.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's a cool song. I would have never thought that that was Jackie Bailey's song. But that's really cool. So you've been rubbing elbows with some state senators and doing some really cool things with the Speak, Feed, and Lead project. Maybe you could update us a little bit about how that's going and what you're up to.
Yeah, last Friday I drove an hour and so south
to Olympia. That's the capital of Washington
which is our state capital, yes. And I met with State Senator John McCoy, who is a member of one of the Native American tribes in this area. And I specifically wanted to meet with him because he has passed legislation now and again, actually a bill very recently, 2 days before I met him actually, making it necessary for the public school system in the state of Washington to change their curriculum in social studies to include education education about the native tribes in that area of the school district.
Wow.
And this is a guy who's made some inroads to the
In education, right?
public speaking curriculum, which is amazing. And I think that's a great contact for us to have in our nonprofit, helping children to learn how to speak with power. And he turned me on to an organization for Native Americans and Northwest Indians. He says, you got to go to this conference in May and meet these particular people. And he gave me the names of the people I need to meet with to make things happen. So that was a really good contact. And tomorrow I'm actually driving back to Olympia to meet with one of our state representatives and talk with her about the same thing and see what we can do with that. It's just great to make connections with people that have some power and a little bit of money that they have access to. So
yeah, I'm thinking road trip, because that's a really cool place where that conference is, Lincoln City. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And the Oregon coast. And so this is a big conference. Are you considering a booth, or are you just gonna walk around, or?
I don't know yet. I don't know if there's booths available. So I'm going to have to check on those details, but there is one particular person I want to meet for sure.
Cool.
He gave me her name and she's the head of
that intention
there in that organization. So make sure I want to meet with her, but yeah.
Very
So,
cool.
road trip.
A Life Mastery Radio speak feed lead road trip. That
There you
sounds
go.
fun.
Maybe we could do the show from down there in Lincoln City.
A remote, yeah, that would be cool. I've done that before. I've done that from different places around, and it's kind of fun. It's kind of challenging, and it's kind of, oh my gosh, it's kind
Yeah.
of, but
So many things could go wrong, right? But something really cool could go right as well. So we'll see. Huh?
well, that's really cool. We're gonna stay posted with that project and what Jackie Bailey's up to and how that all works. So stay tuned to Life Mastery Radio. I want to remind our listeners that today's show page is at www.lifemasteryradio.net or .com, whichever one you remember, and type in. There you can find a really cool blog. So later on today, there'll be a really cool blog about today's show. Jackie spends a lot of time. Yeah, she gets creative and writes a blog about what she heard on the show and what our guests talked about. So that's kind of cool. She also produces a newsletter every week that goes out like clockwork. And you can sign up for that newsletter just by clicking on the button or text. They can text something to something.
They can text. If they pull out their smartphone and type in the number 22828 and then text in the content Life Mastery Radio, then they will automatically get subscribed or become subscribed to our newsletter. So 22828 Life Mastery Radio.
It's a cool newsletter. It talks about the guests coming up, the guests that have been on the show. It's got links to our YouTube channel. It's got links to this special little unit right here. My book. You can follow the links and go to Amazon, love it, and leave me some feedback. It's a really cool book and it's a really good read. I think you really, really would enjoy it. Okay, I think we're done with housekeeping. Let's see who we have on the docket today. Our guest today is Sam Beasley. And there's Sam, and Sam has the book. For Sam to hold this book up. Sam is a successful businessman, entrepreneur who uses spiritual principles to establish and build and run his business. He is a charismatic speaker and dynamic workshop leader whose mission is to share what he learned so that others may become successful and fulfilled as well. Sam's first book with Suzanne Lawrence is Wealth and Well-Being. And the book that we're talking about today, Your Life is Your Prayer. Think about that. Your life is your prayer. Wake up to the spiritual power in everything you do. And he has a co-author with that, a good friend of mine, BJ Gallagher. Big shout out to BJ. Hi, BJ.
Hi, BJ.
Sam, you created some of these prayers. I think you told me before the show got going, you created some of these prayers, and then you and BJ decided, hey, let's put them in a book. And boom, here you are. Did you ever think that would happen?
No, I never did. I enjoyed giving copies of them to friends once in a while. And no, I never did think that happened. I pretty much originally wrote them for me. And so I wrote them to carry in my pocket and pull out and read. And um, it, you know, I'm human, so there were days when I couldn't think of anything worth thinking. You know,
Right.
so I'd pull these out and read them to myself.
So how long have you been doing that, Sam? I mean,
I've been I've been writing prayer as song for 40 some years, but I began to write them just prayers and to carry in my pocket almost 20 years ago. And I came to a moment in life where I, it, I really was struggling to find thoughts worth thinking. And so I knew not to just depend on my mind. I knew I was better off with printed words. So I'd write them on slips of paper, put them in my pocket.
And
So tell us about that experience. What brought you to that point where that became helpful to you?
You mean why? How did I forget to? Yeah, it was 9/11 actually. So
Oh, okay.
on 9/11, something happened and I just couldn't think of anything worth thinking, and I recognized it quickly because it felt like such a hole in my heart. And so at first I would carry other people's thoughts. I couldn't think of anything, but after a while, an original thought came to me again, and then another one, and one day I really recall having this of saying, well, what is it you mean? Like, if I write down, I will find joy in all that I do. What do I mean? And so I started sitting down and kind of writing little essays, and I really enjoyed it. And that's what I shared with BJ, and that's what we wrote into a book. And I still do it. You know, I'm still writing prayers, and I still really enjoy writing
wow.
prayers.
So is your book then a compilation of these inspirations that you've had and written down?
Quite a bit of it is, and then a lot of it is things that have inspired BJ and her own thoughts that have inspired her. Yes. So, yeah, but I would say at least half of it is those prayers.
So let's drill down in that just a little bit, Sam, and tell us or talk to us about what prayer is. What does prayer mean? What is it to you, and how does it work?
Well, I think I notice about prayer is it tend to be repetitious. In my experience, we're praying all day long, and all day long. We just don't realize it.
Right.
And it's often almost like an internal chant. And a lot of times it is not one we would choose to pray. You know, it might be like, this is never going to work. This is never going to work. This is never going to work. And so prayer in consciousness just becomes an alternative thought to that, of saying, maybe this could work. It's worked for other people, you know, maybe this could work for me as well. And so it would almost in that sense be the prayer, maybe I'm not accurate, that this can't work, you know? And so it's repeated internal thoughts. I think we have a sense that they're being heard. Something is listening, you know? And so a lot of times, and for lack of a better name, I think of the divine listener.
Right.
Now, I don't know where the divine listener is.
I don't think
So I wonder sometimes, am I thinking it out, and then it turns around and comes back to the divine listener. And but that speaking and the listening empower my life, and it's just a choice that personally have to empower it in joy and delight and possibility, and appreciation. Maybe above all else, appreciation.
Yeah, it has great power. And I think, I think you're right. I think we do walk around all day in prayer, whether it's good or, well, I don't want to say good, but whether it's negative. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that on how to rephrase those prayers and get that negativity out. And then, most people end up resorting to prayer in desperation, right? It's like their last ditch effort. And, now is when and yet that's not really how it works. It's a constant daily practice.
Though we may not hear it until we're desperate enough.
Right.
So, it's right. It might be that in that moment, we suddenly become conscious that we need something we need help. Yes. And in that moment, we surrender and reach out.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's all those negative thoughts, negative conditions, and negative thinking about that has brought us to that position where, if we practice this on a daily basis, then those times of desperation, correct me if I'm wrong, but those times of desperation become fewer and far between.
Fewer and farther between. Yeah. And I think of it as chosen and unchosen thinking, and versus good or bad. We have times where we're thinking thoughts that our consciousness isn't choosing. And if we stopped and said, do you choose to think this thought? The answer would be no, I don't. So it's chosen and unchosen thinking. And we can become quite skilled at choosing. And so in the same way that you were acknowledging that they get fewer and farther between, the choice thinking can get more frequent and more often. It can become a way of being.
I gotta say, Sam, in my early days of spiritual exploration, I was brought to a point of desperation, and Alcoholics Anonymous set me on a course of a spiritual exploration. And a lot of people end up there that way. But I'll never forget, I was in my early 40s, and I'll never forget where I was and what I was doing when I came to the understanding that I could change my thoughts and I could choose what to think about. Where before it was all whatever came in, got processed, got rattled around. It was like I had no control. But I was walking across a crosswalk, and I remember the exact street and the exact crosswalk, and boom, I had this thing come into my mind, and I thought, I'm not going to think about that. And boom, it was gone. And I was like, oh my gosh, did I just do that? Did that just happen to me? It was so moving that I'm still moved by it today. I have chicken skin to prove it. But that's where the power is.
Yeah, coincidentally, a man I know who had been in AA for a long time at the time this occurred, about 40 years ago, he said to me, just have some faith. And I said, but I don't believe. And he says, oh, that's okay. Just act like you do.
Totally.
And it was extraordinary guidance. Just act like I did. I mean, I was going around acting like I didn't. So why not act like I did? And that's actually when I began to write prayers as songs.
Wow.
And I did act like I did. And one day I heard myself speaking internally as if I was being heard. And I realized, oh my gosh, I do have faith, because I had the sense that I was being heard.
And that's an important thing, right, Jackie? That's being heard and being understood. I mean, you teach a lot of that, only on a different level, but that's very important to us and to our internal guidance system.
Absolutely. I believe if you don't feel that you're being heard, then it's very difficult to get through life without desperation, without fear, without worry. You do need to feel that someone is listening to you and recognizing you. So,
Validation.
Sam, are you saying that even though someone may not be religiously minded, they have these thoughts that they're constantly replaying in their head, and that is actually a prayer that they're saying to themselves, or they're saying to somebody is hearing that prayer, and whether it's negative words or positive words, reaction comes based on that, even if it's not a religious person, but they're, in a sense, they're praying for something that they want, whether it's good or bad for them. But they're getting that result from their thoughts or their prayers.
I think all of us can step aside for a minute and listen to ourselves thinking. And it could be that listener is the entity that we're speaking to. So yes, so faith, no faith, we are speaking, and it's powerful, and it's having an effect on us, on how we experience life, to some degree on life itself, because it begins to affect how we act out in the world, how we treat others,
Right.
How we go forward. And so whether the faith is religious in nature, I don't know. I don't know if that matters, but I know that we are speaking repetitively. We're not that creative. We don't have 10,000 thoughts. We've got like
Right.
4,
Right.
good, bad, and we repeat them over and over, and they are coloring our life and our world.
Directing it.
And in moments of consciousness, we can choose whether or not to think those thoughts.
Or to reframe them and turn them around. You have some great examples in your book where I'm not recalling it exactly, but you state a prayer or how you would pray, and then you state, well, just take that part out and pray for this without that negative instance. Maybe you could reflect on that a little.
Well, one of the things that I think you might be referring to is I think we often pray for the means to an end, and that isn't really what we want. We want the end, and but it's almost like if we got to sit down next to the divine and say, look, you give me the money, I'll handle the rest, and or you give me love and I'll handle the rest, instead of saying, I want freedom. I want to walk with freedom in my heart. I want not only to be loved, but I want to love. We will go straight to the means. And I'm not sure, it's training, I guess, of like, and it's kind of obvious, like if you're out of bread, the means is go to the store and get a loaf of bread. And we start applying that to the heart. And it doesn't always apply, at times, if we happen to notice that, we can say to that divine river of peace, we can say, I get what it is I'm longing for. Can you just handle that?
That's very cool.
I don't know how you're going to do it, but can you handle that? I don't know how to do it. So,
well, I'm reminded by a couple of things that stick to my brain, Sam, and one of them is, if you really want to make God laugh, tell him what your plan is.
Tell him what your plan is. Yes, right. Yeah.
And the other one is, I read this the other day. It was about somebody that really wasn't believing, and he had tried prayer and it wasn't working, and he didn't feel like it was going anywhere. And then he heard something to the effect of, tell your problem about your God. And it totally changed his life. And things began to occur that made a difference, and he was sold. And that's kind of it in all rolled up into one. But it was a great article that I read, and I thought that was really cool too, is to tell, not to tell our problems to God, right? Or complain about our problems, because those negative complaints are just going to supply us with more of what we're asking for, right? But to tell the problem about our God.
Yeah, I doubt that we do have to. I think it probably would be quite accurate to turn to the divine and say, look, you know my problems. You know what I'm thinking. Could you give me a little guidance?
Pow. That's powerful right there. What's next? Or what's the next step should I take? Does something come up, Jackie? Were you?
Well, I know that in your book, Sam, you mentioned that there's different kinds of prayer. So as we're talking about how to make that prayer more powerful for you, maybe going over the different types of prayer might be helpful to someone.
Yeah. Well, there certainly are prayers of gratitude. Maybe my favorite. I get up every morning and I write a list of what I'm appreciating that morning, and those are maybe my favorite prayers.
So you actually create that gratitude list or that gratefulness into a prayer every morning instead of just thinking about what you're grateful for.
Yeah, I write a lists every morning. What I'm looking forward to is one, and what I'm appreciating is the other one. Every morning.
Wow.
And,
now, Sam, as you write that, are you addressing it to someone?
Always.
Okay.
Because there's always a thank you attached to it. Always. I was really looking forward to this interview today, so that's on my list. I couldn't have created this interview if I had to. So thank you. However this came into being, thank you. And
well, the feeling's mutual, because Jackie and I this is kind of cool. I know I have a blast, and I know that Jackie has a blast because I can speak for her.
Yeah, right. So prayers of appreciation or gratitude. Then there are requests, and even in the range of requests, there's requests everything from "Wouldn't this be nice?" to "God save me." I don't think I can make it. I'm terrified. Everything I know is killing me. So that's the range from I think I was yesterday. I was looking at some ancient sites in Ireland. Now, wouldn't that be great to go there and see them? I would love that. That's one kind of request, and the other kind is if something doesn't change, I don't think I'll make it, and help. And so requests. We often have requests for other people, though I kind of think the underlying request for that always is allow me to see that person as whole. I'm wanting to ask you to help them, but could you just allow me to see that they don't need it? And there are, well, certainly petitioning. Prayer takes a lot of form. It takes the form of chanting, physical movement, dance. We regularly see the physical representations of this, or of kneeling and bowing, of the motion of rocking, like that. There are physical motions attached to prayer, and dance is a great one. for a great many people, singing is prayer. And there's a couple of parts of it is the joy that they feel in singing. And if they ask themselves, but what are the words? It's almost unimportant,
Right.
Sometimes, like if you think of the song "I Will Survive," the words are really important in that. Or the Chumbawamba song, "I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to put me
Right.
down." That's really important because that's like a declaration and it's joyful. And so sometimes it is the joy in the singing or dancing. Sometimes it's actually the thought in the singing or dancing. And earlier before the show started, Todd mentioned the "Joy to the World" song. So we all know that song, and there's something joyful about it, though it is about a bullfrog. So we
Which is odd in itself.
which is odd in itself. Yeah. So, but the "Joy to the World," all the boys and girls. It's just a great anthem.
Great lyrics. Oh
It's a
yeah.
great lyric. Yeah. And,
Timeless.
So
I just want to take a minute and remind our listeners that you are tuned into Life Mastery Radio this morning. And I really want to make the appeal for you to tell a friend. No, we don't have telephones. I already used that joke, but be sure and tell a friend. And our guest today is Sam Beasley, and he has written a book called, cue for Sam to hold the book up, "Your Life is Your Prayer. Wake up to the spiritual power in everything you do." And that's a really cool book. Sam, I was reviewing this is a book that I think you would have on your coffee table and and just pick it up and flip through the pages and see what comes out. I think it's a book like that, don't you? I mean, was that the intention?
I am really delighted to be getting exactly that feedback from people. People are emailing me, posting on Facebook. Somebody texted me a couple of nights ago that says, "This got me through this." I would pick it up and open it. And that I could not have picked something more ideal than that, than to be part of creating a book that people could turn to moment. Yeah, that's thrilling to me.
Before
Yeah.
a little station identification, was that a station identification, Becky? I think
Sorta.
we are on Contact Radio. There's the station identification. But before that, Sam, we were talking about types of prayer, and maybe talk to us a little bit, because I know something that really caught my eye when I was scanning through your book was our ability to blame and how that interrupts prayer. I mean, in a world today where everybody is pointing the finger everywhere else, it just doesn't work that way when we try and use that in our thoughts, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. So if we happen to catch ourselves blaming, one of my
judgment would be another one.
Yes, one of my favorite things to do is to turn to curiosity, and I do this regularly. I will say to that divine listener, "I am really curious what you have in mind here," and because the alternative to that thought is, "This sucks," and it's their fault, and now. I understand that there are a lot of really hard experiences in life, and I've had a lot of them, and I'm guessing you guys have too, but they led us here to this moment, to this moment of being together. So no matter how hard they were, they led us here to this glorious life. And so now, could I see that at the time? No. So rather than dwell in the pain of blame, if I happen to notice it, I'll turn to curiosity. And sometimes that's the best I can do, is to say, I don't know what you're thinking. Or, really, this might seem a little disrespectful, but I don't experience it that way. My favorite idea of prayer is to get to sit down on a park bench next to the divine, turn to the divine and say, dude, what were you thinking? And, because so much of it is beyond our understanding.
I was
like why, since you mentioned AA, why is the path to peace through alcoholism for some? Why? I don't know why. I don't know why. And all that matters is it's the path to peace. Now, in the middle of it, you and I both know it doesn't seem like that. So
it's a true cage rattler.
It's a cage rattler. Yeah.
So Sam, I was taught that to think about it. You expressed thinking about it as a curiosity. I was taught to look for the gift, right? Mm-hmm. To realize there's got to be a gift here somewhere.
Yes,
all I have to do is be open to that, and then my head's not down, my tail's not between my legs, and I miss that opportunity, or I miss recognizing that gift.
Right. So a great prayer to me is, I can't see the gift right now, but I'm really looking forward to it. And that's one. There are many moments in life where I can't see the gift. I know it's there, and I actually know it's a pretty good chance that I will see it at some point.
As long as my head's up, my chin's up, and I'm aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so a lot of the times that is the most peaceful thing I can come up with, is I can't see the gift right now, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone reaches that moment of desperation where they just say, why aren't you helping me?
Yes.
What would you suggest they replace that with? Why aren't you helping me? What would be a more helpful prayer that could get us what we're actually wanting?
Well, here, I'm going to answer you, and then I want to kind of put a little tag on it, is I give up.
Yeah, surrender.
I give up now, not I give up and there's no point in living. I've done everything I know. It's not working to keep doing what I know, because it just keeps getting me here. So I give up. I need something I don't know. Mm-hmm. Could you help?
Mm-hmm. Ask for help.
Could you help? Yeah. And it isn't that kind of thing of like, don't you get it that I need this? If that was true, we wouldn't be desperate. It's don't you know? I don't know. And I so I give up defending what I know. It hasn't worked. I give up relying on what I know. It hasn't worked. I give up and create this space for something new.
Cool.
Very cool. That is very, very cool. Sam, something else that I picked up in your book that I thought was really interesting, that I thought would be really cool to share, is the thoughts about feelings. And I read this description that feelings are kind of like clouds, right? We can't really change them. They kind of float across the sky, and we just let them be. There's nothing we can do. And maybe describe for us, because I thought that was such a cool description about our feelings and how we can relate to those in prayer and in our daily life.
Yes. So if we could go back, some of us, I'm older than you guys, so I could go back for a long ways and kind of write down all the feelings I can remember having, and I could ask myself, at the time, what did it make you think? And then the obvious thing I could answer is like, are they still there? Like, no, they've been gone forever. Those feelings have been gone forever. That desperation to be loved by that one person, that was 50 years ago,
Right.
and that hasn't governed my life in a long time. Or the disappointment at the unmet goal, or the sorrow for a loss that felt like it would be there forever. I'm not always entirely sure what feelings are doing. They're certainly emphasizing moments in our life, and that may be it. That they emphasize moments in our life. But I know that those ones that we experienced as this is going to change my life forever, it doesn't. And they, like clouds, those drift away and they get replaced by something else. And it's hard to know that in the moment. It's hard to know that, like those emotions that are connected to heart pain, psychic pain, however we'd say. It's hard to know in the moment that, oh, this is going to pass. And it's those can be they can really grip you. So if we could say to somebody, this will govern my life forever, they might say to us, even this is going to pass.
Mm-hmm. This shall pass.
This too shall pass. You may not feel that in the moment, but even this is going to pass. And it's going to be replaced by joy on some days, and boredom on some days, and sorrow on some days, and anger on some days, and fear on some days. But it will pass.
There's a gift in it, right, Sam? There's a gift.
Almost always.
Oh,
yeah.
It's kind of the way I look at it.
Now, speaking of a gift, Sam, you have put some of your prayers to music.
Yes.
One of them was called From the Heart. That was a prayer that you put to music.
Yeah.
And they're out there on YouTube for us to enjoy. If I were to put one up here so our listeners could hear it, would you want to give us a little bit of a heads up about how From the Heart came about? And then I'll see if I can use technology to get it up on here so we can see.
Here we go, Jackie Bailey.
Yeah, if I remember right, From the Heart was about that story in the Bible. Now, I am not a student of the Bible, and so I hope I get this approximately right. It has to do with Palm Sunday, and it has to do about crossing into, well, let's just say it was crossing a bridge, and where they were laying the palm fronds down in front, and where Jesus doesn't necessarily know what he's facing, but goes forward. And so it started from me thinking about that story and about how often we do have to go forward, and we need something to empower our feet to go forward. And in that moment, I just thought, well, I hope what empowers my feet comes from the heart, and not from rage, not from self-determination, not from defeat,
right?
Something from the heart, and that's why I wrote it. And I was telling you the reason I made that particular video. It's a cappella, and I snapped my fingers, and I had an experience. I guess it's been 3 years now, where my left arm was paralyzed in a surgery. It's okay now, by the way. And I made that video just to see, could I consistently snap my fingers? And I had no idea when I started if I could. but I was willing to do it anyway, and it turned out I could. So,
All right, well, let's listen to it then.
okay,
Let me
great.
bring it
See
up
it,
here.
Jackie,
Right.
here we go. I did it.
Let me start this from the beginning.
Oh,
Can you see it?
we can see it, but we can't hear it.
Oh, no. No, still can't hear it.
Nope.
Oh, no.
I don't
How
know.
do
We're
we get
gonna
it to?
figure out.
Well,
We'll have to figure that out, I guess.
well,
Darn it.
Well, I'll tell you, it is a prayer, and
Yeah.
and it starts out. There's a road out before me, and I can't see how it ends. I don't know where I'm going. Let's see. There's a road out before me, can't see how. Don't know where I'm going, and I don't know how it ends, but I know I gotta get there. Don't know how I'm ever gonna start. I reach in here inside me. I hope I'm gonna get it from the heart, from the heart, from the heart. And,
Nice.
yeah, it's
It's
a
way
song.
better when you sing it live in person, I think.
Yeah, it's really one of my favorite songs.
It's a beautiful song.
And there is a verse I particularly love. It's I've got this burden. Well, I'll sing it. I got this burden. I've been dragging it around. Lord, it gets so heavy that it weighs my spirit down. I gotta open up my fists, loosen up my grip, and let it go, and let it go. Don't know how to do it. Don't know where to start. I reach in here inside me, and I hope I'm gonna get it from the heart, from the heart, from the heart.
Yeah.
Yay.
We're gonna maybe we could get Barney to put some spin on that a little, maybe. Bailey. No, I'm just kidding.
Nice.
That's very cool, Sam. So you're inspired. How many of your prayers have you put to songs like that? Is that
At least 100. I've written more than 1,000 songs. Some of them are prayers I don't pray anymore. So, I was thinking about Joy to the World. Hoyt Axton wrote Joy to the World, and his mother wrote Heartbreak Hotel. And when you think about the sentiments in those two songs, and one of them is about that, oh, woe is me, and the other one is joy to the world, and so I have written some woe is me songs, and I don't really sing those anymore. So, but at least 100 songs that are prayers for for the strength to go forward, prayers for love, prayers for joy. I don't mean in desperation, prayers for love. Just prayers that, and a lot of times it's just prayers of gratitude. Variations of thank you. Yeah, it's like, there's a saying that a prayer sung is a prayer prayed twice. And that is my experience with it, that there is the prayer in the singing itself, and then there's the prayer in the language. And so much so that even with that song I was just singing, if I only hum it, the joy and the hope is in it, and so it's something I really love doing is putting prayers to music. So.
That is so cool. And so in your everyday life, I was going to ask you this in the beginning, Sam, but my curiosity just has to know, you are an entrepreneur and a businessman. Tell us, what is your business? We didn't get that part.
Well, I have several. My passion is I work to end fatalities and injuries from driving under the influence. And so I have counseling centers for people who are convicted of driving under the influence too.
Wow.
And the goal is to end death by DUI. That's the goal. And
very cool.
I'm not alone in it.
Oh,
There's quite a few of us working towards that end, and that's my favorite. I have 6 counseling clinics that do that, and I of course have my music publishing and books.
But you do publish some of your music?
Oh, sure.
Oh,
I have for a long time. I've done it, or other people do it. Ray Charles Publishing used to publish my songs. And
wow, that's very cool.
Yes, and I have commercial real estate, and I love business. I love giving people jobs. It's one of the real gifts of my life, and this all came after I retired the first time.
Oh, wow.
So I retired on 9/11, and I asked myself not long after that, what was I going to do with all the knowledge I had gained? And so I wrote a mission, just a kind of a personal mission, and it evolved into owning quite a few businesses and having quite a few employees. And there's almost nothing I would rather do than give people who want to be self-supporting the opportunity to do that.
What line of work were you in on 9/11 that you retired from?
I managed a big mental health agency.
Yeah. Wow. We only have about 5 minutes left, Sam. I want to thank you so much. You know, there's a heck of a lot more that we could talk about. So I want to make sure that you'd be open to coming back on Life Mastery Radio, because I think we could really have some more fun. There's so much more to talk about. I do have to ask, though, in your successes as an entrepreneur and a businessman and everything that you've done, how much has prayer played a part in that?
All the way through it. Every piece that I'm aware of, and every piece where I can't see that it's played a part, I know it still did. And what I have and the experiences I've had in entrepreneurship is so far beyond my own ability.
Totally.
I can't even, I would love to take credit, and I can't.
Right there.
It came, and I'll give you one of my favorite examples. I had a moment where I really didn't know after 9/11. I didn't know even what to envision. And a friend suggested that I just sit down with a pen and a pad and close my eyes and do it every day at the same time and write down whatever I saw. And I didn't see anything for about 3 weeks. And 3 weeks later, I realized I was watching a movie in my head that 90 days later was fact. And I wouldn't have known that sitting down with a pen and a pad of paper with no thoughts was prayer. And it was, please, tell me what to put on this paper. I don't know. So everything, Todd, everything.
Wow.
All of it.
That is a great story. Is that story in the book?
I think it might be.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it might be. Yeah. So.
Oh, thank you so much, Sam. This has been a great joy, and you have some inspiring stories. I do want to have you back on the show. I think.
Well, that'd be great. I'd love to.
Jackie, any takeaways? Did you've been a person of prayer all your life, pretty much? I think. I'm guessing.
Yeah. Although I would admit that I've never thought of my thoughts as prayer.
Yeah.
So this has definitely helped me to see things a little bit differently, and that the things that I'm thinking are a prayer, and I need to be saying the right things to get the right things, right? So that's helped me a lot.
You don't have to be afraid, but conscious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool.
Very cool.
Thank you.
That's about all we have time for today. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you enjoyed it so much that you're going to tell a friend about the show. Next week we have we're talking about chakras again we have Lisa on, Lisa Erickson, and
Yeah.
she has written a book, Chakra Empowerment for Women. So make sure you tell a friend about that. And
It's Ladies' Day next week on Life Mastery Radio.
is that right?
Well, it's a book about women being
Oh,
empowered
I
by
see.
their chakras.
We get it. Thanks again, Sam. That's about all we have time for.
Thank you.
One last shot. I would just really, really appreciate it if you would make a great day. And be careful about those thoughts because it's all about choice. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.